How You Became a Hero, Chapter 5. What I Can Do for Now, by Inori02. It's been a week since the exams. I am currently at Izuku's house eating dinner with his mom and Izuku himself. But Izuku has been staring and smiling at a dead cooked fish ever since we started. Izuku? I started saying. No response. Snap out of it, Midoriya, I said, getting creeped out, and I can tell Izuku's mom is getting creeped out too. Eyes widening in shock, Izuku stopped smiling and looked up at us. An apologetic look on his face. I'm sorry. Did you guys see something? He asked. I let out a sigh as I looked at him worriedly. After I woke up in the hospital, Izuku was on the bed next to mine, but he was unconscious. I asked the nurse what happened, and she told me everything. I was surprised because what happened to him was the same thing that happened to me, except he had 0 points and I had 45. After hearing that, I quickly asked for the nurse to get present Mike. When he came in, I asked if I could give some of my points to Izuku, but he said I couldn't do that. After that day, I felt really bad. When Izuku woke up, he didn't have the natural shine in his eyes. He hadn't spoken to me or anyone else after that until right now. Why are you smiling at the fish? Should I be worried about that, honey? His mother asked worriedly. Sorry, no. I just spaced out for a while, he said, and after a few more seconds, he began to eat. When dinner was over, Izuku sat on the couch and looked at the wall with a depressed face. Walking towards him, I watched him close his eyes and breathe out a sad sigh as I sat next to him. I know. Waiting for the results is terrible, his mom said from behind us. I guess, Izuku said while looking down at nothing. No matter what, I just want you to know I'm proud of you. And I think you're really cool, sweetie, his mom said, smiling and trying to give him hope, to lighten up the mood, even if it's just for a little. But it didn't work. Sure, he said and stayed silent after that. Oh, well, I'm going to check the mail, okay? She said, putting on her slippers. Before she walked out, I immediately got up. I'll join you, Mrs. Midoriya, I said while walking away from Izuku, but not before saying goodbye to him and a see you later. He didn't respond back, just looked at me and looked back down. As Mrs. Midoriya and I walked out to get the mail, I told her that I would be heading home to check on mine. She was about to tell me something, but she stopped talking as she looked up at one of the mails that was sent to her house. It's from UA! Oh my god, I said as she quickly said her goodbyes and went back inside yelling Izuku's name. I quickly ran to my house to check my mail, but I saw my mom already there staring at something with wide eyes. It's from UA! My mom said, looking at me with a huge smile. We both ran inside and opened the letter. When I opened it, a metal object came out of it and it projected All Might. All Might? But this is from UA, right? I yelled in surprise. My mom shushed me as All Might began to speak. He started talking about him being the new faculty member at UA, which surprised me but also made me happy. He then talked about my actions in the exams, which he said he saw, and that made me even happier, yet nervous. He said how proud he was of my work. He then talked about Izuku and what I did for him, which gave me 5 rescue points. I also got 60 for rescuing the girl, which gave me a total of 65 rescue points. Yes, apparently rescue points were a thing in the exam, but President Mike was to keep that a secret from all of us. I had 45 battle points, and that got me to be in 3rd place, which means I passed the exam. I am gonna get to go to my dream school. After the projection was over, my mom and I were full out crying and hugging. After that moment, I told my mom I was gonna run to Izuku's house to celebrate with him, because during the projection, All Might informed me that Izuku also passed and is going to UA. I barged in, the door already open, and ran to his room, passing by his mom that had a shocked look on her face. I opened the door to find Izuku in front of me with tears on his face too. My already wide smile got even wider, if possible, as I jumped on him and cried harder, "Izuku, we passed! We're going to UA!" I yelled as I hugged him. He hugged me back as we both cried our eyes out. Minutes later, my mom came to Izuku's house and began to talk to Mrs. Midoriya. After she congratulated Izuku, Mrs. Midoriya gave me a hug as well and congratulated Izuku and I on making it. It was now April, and it was my first day of high school in UA. I was headed to the door to get Izuku when my mom stopped me. "Please be careful, Yin, and please, remember not to go past your limit with your new powers. I can't have you dying on me," she finished with tears coming out of her eyes. Ever since the doctors and All Might told her about my powers and what would happen if I go overboard, she's been worried and overprotective about me. I am now basically like a ticking bomb that could explode at any moment if I'm not careful. I let out a sigh and hugged her, telling her I would be alright. "Don't worry, Mother. All Might and Izuku will be there to help me if anything goes wrong," I said with a reassuring smile, and with that, I opened the door. "Yin," Mother called me before I stepped out. "I'm really proud of you," she said, a bright smile on her teary skin. Smiling back, I waved and walked off to my beginning. The beginning of my high school journey. Izuku and I were now running the halls of UA trying to find out our class, which we thankfully had together. Once we found Class 1A, the class we would be in for the next 4 years, we walked in, hoping to not be so late. Walking in, we were welcomed with yelling. Lots and lots of yelling. A boy with dark blue hair yelled at Bakugo to put his feet down from the desk. During the argument between the two, I caught the dark-haired boy's name. Tenya Ida. Noticing that Izuku and I were at the door watching the commotion silently, everyone else in the class began to turn their attention towards us, making me extremely anxious. I did not like this. "It's them!" Tenya gasped as he paused his bickering with Bakugo, who also looked over at us in anger as he realized we would be sharing a class again. Unfortunately. Everyone stared at us with awe, except Bakugo, of course, who looked like he wanted to rip our heads off. "Morning," Izuku said shyly. I just awkwardly stood by him, not saying a word. "Good morning. I'm from Somei Private Academy. My name is..." the blue-haired guy began to say, but I cut him off. "Tenya Ida, we heard," I said, smiling as he stopped in front of Izuku, and I can't be scared this time. We introduced ourselves to him and shook his hand. Midoriya, you realized there wasn't something more to the practical exams, didn't you? Ida said. I had no idea. I misjudged you, he said, bowing. I hate to admit it, but you're better than me. Confused as hell, I silently watched and listened. I'm sorry, I didn't actually realize anything. Izuku sweat dropped and awkwardly laughed. Oh, that curly hair. You're the plane looking that tripped. Someone said from behind us. I looked back to see the girl that saved Izuku from falling. Uraraka, was it? Yeah. Spacing out during their conversation, I brought back out of it when I heard a male adult voice speak from behind me. Looking down, I try to keep my laugh as I see a man with long black hair and a yellow sleeping bag. Who the hell is this guy? And why does he look familiar? You can go somewhere else if you want to play at being friends. This is a hero course, he said while getting up and unzipping himself out of the sleeping bag and stepping into the now quiet classroom. Okay, it took 8 seconds before you were quiet. Time is limited. You kids are not rational enough, he said as he looked at all of us, annoyed, written all over his face. Is he a pro? I mean, he looks worn out and like he hasn't slept for years. I'm your bedroom teacher, Shoda Aizawa. Nice to meet you. He boredom lacing his voice. Everyone was surprised, but I kinda saw this coming. It's kind of sudden, but put this on. Go out into the fields immediately. I will meet you all there, he said, pulling out UA gym uniforms and handing each of us one as we walked out of the locker rooms. This is already turning out to be a weird first day. We were all outside, facing Aizawa as he explained what we were doing. A Quirk assessment test? Everyone yelled as Aizawa nodded. Apparently, we are skipping the orientation and getting right into the good stuff because Aizawa thinks orientation is a waste of time if we want to become heroes. He told us what we were doing is like a physical exam, except now we can use our quirks, and if we come last, then we would get expelled. That all of a sudden made me worried. One, because of Izuku, and secondly, because I can't fully control my powers yet. Looking over at Izuku, he had a terrified expression on his face. You're gonna do fine, I whispered to him, not knowing what else to say to ease him up a bit. I sure hope so, he said, looking down. The test started out with a 50-meter dash. The first two to go up was Ira and this other girl who I learned is named Suyu Azui. After them was Uraraka and this other dude with a tail. After everyone went, it was my turn together with this guy that had half white and half red hair. So far, Ida has the best score out of everyone, which is 3.04 seconds. My competitive side, which the urge to beat the score, all of a sudden I felt some kind of power run through my legs as a little robot counted me down from 5. As soon as it said go, my legs began to move on its own, and in a blink of an eye I was at the finish line. 1.04 seconds. The robot announced, and all hell broke loose from there. What? Everyone yelled and looked at me with shock. What? What the hell just happened? 7.03 seconds. The little robot thing said, snapping at me out of confusion and shock. I looked back to see that it was the half-white and half-red-haired dude who finished. I looked at the teacher to see if he had somewhat of a shocked impression, but it went away as soon as it came. That was amazing, Yin. That was amazing, Yin! Izuku said with sparkly eyes as he held my shoulder. Giggling, I thanked him, still confused on how this all happened. The next test is grip strength. I gripped the metal thing and got 150 kilograms. Not bad, I think. Hey Izuku, what did you get? I asked, looking over at him. 56 kilograms, he said. Disappointed with his number. Wow, 540 kilograms? What are you, a gorilla or an octopus? Some guy with black hair said to this buff six-armed guy, basically drooling over him. Sheesh. The next test was a standing long jump. I had no idea I was going to do this one. After this kid named Yuga Aoyama went at it, it was my turn. I thought of a quirk I could use and thought about flying powers. Deciding to go with that, I prepared myself to jump. And when I did, I began to somewhat float, but then as I got too excited, I lost focus and fell on my feet, falling on my ass right after I lost my balance. Looking down to where I landed, I noticed I almost made the whole jump. But unfortunately, I only made it a few inches before the end. Oh well. Getting up and brushing the sand off of me, I made my way back to my fellow students who all had confused but shocked faces, making me blush and look down. Making my way to the back, I hoped that no one would ask questions. Right now, knowing exactly why they were confused, I mentally slapped myself. Maybe I should have used one quirk for today instead of using different ones. But they were going to find out eventually, so why not? Moving on to the next test, we are now doing repeated side steps. Didn't put so much effort into that one, but I did a good either way. I used speed. The next step was ball throwing. I was planning on using one for all for this one, but then remembered that Izuku has a quirk and it would be too weird if I used it. Plus, I'm not ready for that one, nor do I ever want to use it, I think so. I guess I'll use something else. Uraka was up first and she got Infinity? That's freaking amazing and insane. I would use that quirk and get the same score, but to me that's cheating, so I'd rather not. And also, people would definitely ask questions, so yeah, no thanks. It was now Izuku's turn, and as he was getting ready to throw it, I knew he was going to use One For All. But as he threw the ball, One For All failed. What the? I looked over at Aizawa to see it was him. He's the reason One For All didn't work. I knew it. I knew I'd seen him from somewhere. Aizawa is Eraserhead, the pro hero that can take away other people's quirks temporarily just by looking at them. Pulling Izuku closer with his scarf, Aizawa whispered something to Izuku that none of us students could catch, including me. After Aizawa let him go and gave him his quirk back, Izuku grabbed the ball and walked back to the circle, his eyes hidden under his hair. What exactly did Aizawa tell him? Talking to himself, he got into a position to throw, pulling back, and he tried again. Only this time he used 5% of One For All on the tip of his finger and shot the ball super high. Amazing, I said under my breath as I stared at the ball come back down. 705.3 meters. Everyone yelled except me. I looked at Izuku and smiled. He's grown a lot in such a short time. I'm really proud of him. He's becoming what he has always dreamed of being, a hero. Feeling someone's presence behind me, I saw All Might hiding behind a building with a proud look. I swear, sometimes he could pass as Izuku's dad. After a few people went, it was now my turn. I decided to use wind manipulation. That should get the ball to go really high, right? Sucking as much air into my lungs, I threw the ball as high as I could, immediately releasing a bunch of air straight for it, creating what it looked like a windstorm or tornado, making the ball go even higher. When the ball landed back on the ground, I looked over at Mr. Aizawa as he had a shock written all over his face, this time not hiding it. He showed me my score and I got 800.3 meters, which made my throw the second best out of everyone in the class. What the hell? First you used speed, then levitation, now air manipulation? Just what is your quirk? This guy with blonde and a streak of black hair said, shocked out of his mind. Wait! Literally, I don't recall his name, but I do know his quirk is electricity. My quirk? I said, getting a little anxious with all of this attention. And I wished it would stop. I see. I heard Mr. Aizawa say. I looked at him to see him staring down at his phone. Your quirk. You're the student I was told about that had infinite amounts of quirks. At least that was what it says on your records. He said, looking up at me with amusement. Her quirk is what? The class said, except Izuku, who already knew, so he just stood to the side watching everyone lose their minds. Yeah, I have every quirk in the world, I began to say, looking down. They all looked at me in awe and utter shock, not believing in a single word coming out of my mouth. Not my mom. I'm just getting confused right now. I meant my mouth. My mouth. Ugh. But if I overlimit myself, I can die. So I'm basically a ticking time bomb. I told them, thinking I should have probably kept that last part to myself. Which is why you're a MHA in my class. Aizawa said. I looked up to him, confused. Yurei can help you control your powers, and also be supervised and trained by not only All Might, but other pros that work here. But you're in my class because if you lose control, I can simply just take away your quirks and put you to sleep. He said, which made my eyes go wide. Okay, was the only thing I said, finding all of this information overwhelming and a bit terrifying. I looked at all the students minus Baku and Izuku to find them all looking at me as if waiting for me to continue with more information and details about me and my powers. Letting out a shaky sigh, I said, I'll answer all of your questions later. And they all smiled at me, kindly making me a bit more relaxed than before. Maybe this won't be bad after all. Even if I had a lot to learn, I'll focus on what I can do for now, together with Izuku and everyone else. End of chapter 5. Bruh, she's so OP. What the fuck?